All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, really gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Venus Morris Griffin. Venus, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on the show.
My pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
share my story.
All the way from Georgia, right? I mean, this is fantastic.
Yes, I live in Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters golf tournament. If you're a golf fan,
Very
that's kind
cool.
of what we're known for. But it's pretty amazing here. Love it.
Love it. Well, I just want to jump in really just dive into the questions, get everybody to get
Perfect.
to know you as a person, as a professional, a little bit more out there. So I guess let's just start with the first one, telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Venus Morris Griffin. I am 47 years old. I have been in the real estate business for 10 years. I am married to an amazing man. I have 7 children. My oldest is 23. He's the president of his dental class here in Augusta. Then I have a 21-year-old who is graduating with an accounting degree. She has twin girls. I have a 19-year-old who is in nursing. I have a 17-year-old who is a senior in high school, and I have a 12-year-old who is a 7th grader. I have a 9-year-old who is a 3rd grader, and then at 44, I have child number 7, and she's 4 years old. So 5 girls and 2 boys. Yeah.
I love that.
Pretty
That's
amazing.
huge. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, coming down to it, when you're talking about family and real estate and everything that's going on, I mean, what was your initial thought process and your career path to get to where you are today, and why real estate? I mean, what does it mean?
So I was a stay-at-home mom. I had 6 children, and I wanted to do something to earn just a little part-time income, supplementary income. And I am very faith-centered, and I will never forget, I was riding in the road and I saw a big sign that said, want to make your own hours, earn your own salary, go to real estate school.
Wow.
So I was a graduate of the University of South Carolina with a political science degree, was working on my master's when I got pregnant with baby number 1.
Wow.
But by the time I got to number 6, I didn't want to put them in daycare and go to work and come home at 6 o'clock and miss their whole life. So
Sure.
it seemed like a great opportunity. So I called, signed up for classes, and little did I know that a year later I would be a single parent of 6 children.
Wow.
And have 0 financial support and be the sole breadwinner in my family. And took me from wanting to be a part-time income to wanting to save my children to make sure that they were okay, because at the time I had a baby that was still nursing. He was 1 year old. I had a 3-year-old. I had a 8-year-old. I had 11, 13, and a 15-year-old.
Wow.
And so I was married almost 20 years.
Okay.
And I got a call in the middle of the night, and it was from a prostitute. And she told me that she had been blackmailing my husband and that he had been cheating on me for 7 years.
Wow.
And just told me what an awful man he was. And I didn't believe her and wanted to save our marriage. And so long story short, within that year, my husband did some really awful things that the district attorney became aware of, and they arrested him and tried him and sentenced him to 45 years in prison.
Unreal.
And I was left hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. It was, I'd just gotten my real estate license. My first year, I made $25,000.
Oh, Venus.
And I didn't really even know how I was going to feed my children. And so I got into the real estate market in the recession. Everybody was getting out of the business.
Wow.
And I'll never forget my divorce attorney saying to me, Venus, I know you love this real estate thing, but you have no family that can help you financially, and you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and you need to sell everything that you have and you need to get a real job and get out of this business.
Wow.
So, yeah. And, of course I didn't do that. And
Right.
my second year in the business, I'll never forget, I was so broke that I could not even pay my assistant.
Hmm.
And she was my very best friend, and she worked for me for 1 year and for free.
Wow.
And she told me I could catch her up in the future, which I did. The next
Okay.
year I paid her for year 2
Hmm.
and caught her up for year 1. So my first year in the business, I had no real estate experience. I wasn't from this area.
Wow.
I made $25,000. And
Mhm.
then my second year in the business, I made 6 figures. My third year in the business, I doubled it. By my 7th year, I was making 7 figures. And, I'm the top agent out of every company in this area now. So, yeah, so I'm very blessed. And, yeah, I love what I do. And needless to say, I'm financially completely debt free. And, I'm happy.
Oh, Venus. And again, everybody out there, their jaws are probably, dropped at that point, everything that you've
Yeah.
already been through and that you've overcome. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later too, but to really not let anything stop you and keep moving forward and hit the goals and do what you've done and support your family and impact your community the way you have is absolutely inspiring. I just can't wait to dive a little deeper into these things going forward. But I want to really kind of dive a little bit deeper into your why, because I think that
Sure.
really helps everybody understand as to
Yeah.
why you do what you do. So this next
Sure.
question is, what's your why? I mean,
Yeah.
what motivates you and drives you to do what you do as long as you have to the level that you do it at, Venus?
So my why was and still is my 6 children.
Okay.
I knew that if I failed, that they would fail. And I grew up and had a very hard childhood. I have a wonderful mother, but she struggled with addiction, alcoholism, prescription drugs my whole life. And
Wow.
as a child, I remember my job was to watch her fingernails, and if they turned blue, to call 911.
Hmm.
And so then I have 2 siblings, and I watched my brother go through the same childhood that I went through, and he dealt with it differently.
Okay.
He was sentenced to maximum security prison. And my sister, who was in and out of mental hospitals and, just could not cope with the dysfunction that we grew up with. And so I was determined not to let that happen to my children. I was
Wow.
determined not to let them be a victim. And I was determined that I had overcome so much that there was no way I was going to throw the towel in and let my kids grow up feeling unloved or, just like they had lost everything.
All right.
And I tell them life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react.
So
And
true.
and so when my husband was sentenced to prison, I'll never forget, I set all my children down and I said, you know what, guys, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to forgive your dad. And we are never, ever going to talk bad about him. And I'm going to pick myself up. And I don't know what that means, but I'm going to work as hard as I can work to take care of you. And I know that with God and hard work and determination, we will get through anything that we face, and that we will not only get through it, but we will be an example to our community.
Wow.
And my oldest son was amazing. He was 15. He said, Mom, you work as hard as you need to work to take care of us, and I'll help you raise my brothers and sisters. And that's what we did. We pulled together, and that first year, like I said, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was in a 2-bedroom,
Right.
2-bedroom with 6 children. And I just knew, if I worked hard, I didn't have the answer today, but if I worked hard, I gave it 100%, I didn't quit, that I would be successful. And my life had was already a shining example of that. So.
Sure. I mean, and just going deeper into that particular scenario, I mean, in the time frame that you've been in the business and accomplished what you've accomplished, it's amazing. I mean, absolutely spectacular. And to me, there's so much more to go. There's so many more things and people you're going to impact. I want to kind of dive a little deeper onto this part. You and I have a mutual friend, acquaintance, that sort of deal. And I know that public speaking is a big part of who you are and what you do. And internationally, you've graced some really fantastic stages, and you have the National Association of Realtors, the NAR conference in November coming up as well. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about what got you into that portion of your life.
So financially, I'm very successful now.
Mhm.
So money is not an issue for me.
Sure.
And success to me is not what you bring in income, but success to me is what you have overcome to achieve success.
Love that.
And I promised God that when I got through the adversity I was facing, that I would share my story across the world, and I would help other women especially, because we women, we give our lives to our children, we're stay-at-home moms, and something goes south, and we become depressed, we throw the towel in, we think we're defeated, we think we can't do it, we become victims. And I promised God that when I got through this, I would use my story to empower other women to succeed and to know that they can get through anything.
Wow. Okay. And that's really just taking it to that next level and
Yes.
giving back to a community and an industry that's given you so much. And again, a promise that you're keeping for yourself,
Yes.
and impacting it and going through. So I definitely, we'll touch on that a little bit further down the road too, but I just wanted to let everybody know there's so many amazing opportunities. We'll have links in the comments down below for different websites and video clips of Venus as well. So you can feel some of that inspiration to really understand who she is on a deeper level if you're not getting it from this particular interview. But I do want to go into the next topic because this is a crowd pleaser for a lot of the professionals who watch or listen to this particular content. They want to learn from the Titans. They want to understand what you've done in your life and in your business to get to where you've gotten, in a career standpoint. So if you could look back at your business thus far, Venus, and pick or choose one or two things that took it from one level to the next that you added to your business, what's that look like for you?
So I think that we make this business harder than it really is.
Sure.
I really do. It's not big concepts. It's the little things that will set you apart from your competitors.
Okay.
So when I started out, I didn't know anyone. I knocked on doors when I saw a for sale sign in the yard. I did 3 open houses every Sunday. I had no listings. So I would call agents and say, hey, can I do an open house for you on Sunday? Every Sunday, I did 3 open houses. I guarantee you, I got a buyer or a seller every Sunday. And I built my business from the ground up with open houses and knocking on doors and calling people. And when you do what you say you're going to do, then the word starts to get around and your reputation starts to form. So it's really not hard to be successful. And there's room for all of us to be successful. You just got to have the work ethic. And in this business, you will see exactly what you're worth because you'll see what you're making. So, there's a direct correlation what you put in and what you get out. But I started off and I would tell every agent, if you're not doing 2 to 3 open houses every Sunday and you're complaining about not being successful, then there's a problem.
Yes, I love that.
So David Knox was really instrumental for me as well because he's got amazing training videos. I am not a teacher of real estate. He is. So I would, look at all of his information, research to see what he was doing, and try to modify it to fit my personality and my brand and my community. So, I can tell you what I've done to be very successful. And again, I make gross close to $2 million in commissions every year. So what I do works, but it's not big stuff. It's little stuff that you do consistently. My daughter started training me about 1.5 years ago. And she said, Mom, I want to teach you, I want to get you in shape. And I've always been a runner, so I've always been kind of thin and in shape. She says, but, so you got to get up every morning at 5 a.m. And you've got to go to the gym with me for 1.5 hours. And this was in August. She said, by April, you should start to look better.
Wow.
So that's 8 months. So the consistency, the first month and 2, I saw nothing. I'm like, there is not an ab on my body. The 3rd month before, there's nothing. But the consistency, by the time I got to 8 months, I had a 6-pack. The same thing is with real estate.
Wow.
You can't get up and go to work 1 week or 1 month and think, okay, I'm not making any money. I'm not successful. Well, I made $25,000 that first year. If I had done that, I would have quit. I would have gotten a real job. I would have been making $50,000 to $100,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. I kept with the consistency. I did it every day. I got up, I put a suit on. You don't show up in flip-flops.
Right.
And, the consistency of that will build your brand, and you will be successful. There's no other way.
I mean, there's so many amazing takeaways and nuggets inside that. So everybody who's, watching or listening, I know they're feverishly taking notes. I mean, pause this, rewind it. There's so many good things that are going on here. And again, you walk the talk, Venus. That's what's so beautiful about who you are and what you've done and what you continue to do. You literally started from scratch.
Nothing.
And you grew and grew and grew and grew. Consistency in that message. And there's so many professionals that I have conversations with as well. And I was literally having a conversation with a gentleman just the other day about open houses. Yeah. And the conversation was really interesting because that was a lot of, his bread and butter, his portion of doing that. But he switched companies, and he was a little concerned about, asking other companies that you're not working with. Let's just say ABC Realty versus XYZ Realty. And now you're calling another company to do open houses. And he had a little bit of reservation to that. But what I'm hearing from you, Venus, is it doesn't matter. Just reach out, do those open houses.
So I'll tell you, I work for the best company in Augusta. Okay. And so I don't need to call other companies to get open houses because we dominate this market. So if you feel good about who you work for the best company, you will have no problem finding those listings. If you don't feel confident in who you work for, if you don't feel like you're working for the best company, then you're going to have some problems. But when you work for the best company and you're proud of who you represent, then you'll have no problem getting those contacts.
I think that's huge. I absolutely love that. I mean, there's so many, we can talk and talk and talk, but again, that's why you need to see Venus live, catch her on stage. I mean, check out everything that we're going to put in the comments down below. But Venus, this has been amazing so far. I want to shift gears and go a little deeper into you as a person and as a professional. Yeah. This is the tricky part of this particular series and interview. It's the challenge question. Now, I know you've already alluded to some things that you've been through in your life, but this particular question, no one's exempt from it. We all have challenges. We all have struggles, whether it's in the past, now, or in the future. We're all going to deal with it some form or fashion, personally, professionally. To me, and I'm very sure that you're the same way. It's not so much what happens, but how we respond. Again, that 90-10 percentage. So if you're comfortable sharing a challenge or some challenges that you've overcome, that you've learned from, what's that look like for you, Venus?
So the challenge was having my husband go to prison. Okay. And not having any money. I mean, that's, or growing up, not knowing your father and watching your mom and your brothers and sisters go to prison and mental hospitals, and, having the whole community think that you're going to be like them, and overcoming that and working 2 jobs to put myself through college, because I knew education is what's going to set all of us apart in the long run. And, I thought I had it all figured out. I've done all the right things, again, working 2 jobs, putting myself, graduating from the University of South Carolina. And then in 1 second, your life can change again. And you just have to decide what you're going to do with it. My advice to other people is, first, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself. Okay. So when my husband went to prison, I'll never forget, my attorney said to me, Venus, what are you taking to help you get through with this? And I'm like, Tim, I'm not taking anything. I said, I get up every morning, I run 5 miles. I said, that first year, I took my children to church every single day at 7:15 before school. Okay. And I made an appointment every day with my 6 children. We had family dinner where we all sat around a table and went through a good thing and our not so good thing. Wow. And so when you do all of those things, I mean, challenge, it's not a bad thing to go through adversity. Right. It's just knowing that you can get through anything. It doesn't matter what happens to you. We all go through some type of adversity. Mine's a little extreme, but that's okay. It could be a death of a loved one. It could be, failed marriage. It could be just anything, losing your job, going into bankruptcy. But it doesn't matter. Failure is, I tell my kids, it's just a stepping stone to success. So you can't look at it as you're failing. You just have to keep working hard till you figure out how to be successful. And you'll keep doing it as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Okay. And that to me is hugely inspiring when you look at it, because that's just the continued message of mindset and positivity. And I think that the true professionals in any field and in any facet, there's much more failure than success, but that is the stepping stone, as you said, or the bridge to success. You have to learn, you have to grow. There's more no's than yeses. I mean, there's so many ways to break that down, but I think that that's difficult for a lot of people that are out there, because they're not constantly focusing on that positive mindset that I'm learning from this failure and not just failing. So is there any advice that you would give out to anybody if they're going through hard times? Because so many of us are, is how do you focus on that mindset? Because you didn't wake up one day and just be ultra positive. I mean, you work.
Well, the first thing you got to do is take care of yourself.
Okay.
If you want to play the part, you got to look the part. That
Right.
means you get up, you exercise every day. I know that sounds really just simple,
No,
but
that's great.
people are you teach people how to treat you, and the way you treat yourself will teach them how to treat you. So if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't expect to be this mega producer, mega superstar. You've got to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk. And so my advice to them would be, first, get your own personal stuff in order.
Okay.
Get in shape, eat healthy, get sleep, just the basics. Your faith, whatever that means, whatever God means to you.
Sure.
You have that solid foundation, and you can take it whatever level you want to take it. I mean, I could make a lot more than $2 million a year if I wanted to make a lot more than $2 million a year.
Sure.
Again, success. I didn't want to be this titan of a real estate agent and then have dysfunctional children because I was just concerned with what the numbers said.
Wow.
I want to have the balance where I've got, I can provide for everyone, yet I have my family and God as my top priority. So it's finding that balance, whatever that balance, and it's different for everyone. For me, it's my 7 children, because I remarried 5 years ago.
Love it.
And so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. And again, that's just positivity and thought process, and constantly putting the work in on yourself, on your family, on your religious beliefs, all the way through and through. I think that is that balance. And so many people are looking for it. But for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but trying to surround yourself with people such as you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, be around the Venuses of this world and learn and grow and try to soak up some of that positive energy and mindset and motivation, but you have to apply it. You can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can have conversations with amazing people, but you got to put the work.
You got to do it. Well, and one of the things that I don't watch television, because I don't want to put any of that negativity in me. It seems like everyone feeds off of that. I don't hang out with negative people. I'm very careful on who I hang out with.
Right.
And my family is my center. And when you do that, you become a magnet for other people. I don't talk negative about other agents or other people. I just focus on what I can do to be the best that I can do.
Wow.
And, when you do that, you're going to rise to the top. And, the lady that I knocked off from number one several years ago was an amazing lady. And my success did not take away from hers. I just worked just a little bit harder to take that number one spot, because I'm competitive.
Right.
But she still was right there with me, so we can all be successful. We don't have to tear down our community and our other agents and friends to make ourselves rise, because when you do that, the opposite happens. So just being respectful and treating everyone with the golden rule will help you rise to the top.
I think that's amazing. Everybody can take that one to the bank. It's absolutely incredible advice and so true through and through. So Venus, I want to shift gears on this and go on a slightly softer question, but thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared thus far. It's not easy to air your stuff out in front of everybody and really show a portion of life and vulnerability, but we're all people. Right. And I think that's important. So I'm glad you did. And thank you so much. I know everybody out there is as well. But the next question is a little softer. And it's actually my favorite one. It ends up being the travel back in time question. And not so much that you would change something in your life, but this particular question ends up looking at, if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any age range, it could be a year ago, it could be 20 years ago, what would you say to young Venus?
That you are going to be okay. I remember having that moment when I was probably 16 or 17.
Okay.
And I literally thought I was going to die. I had no one. My mom and I were on the verge of homelessness. I went to high school. I changed high school 7 times in 3 years, living with friends. And
Wow.
I just remember thinking I was not going to make it, but I was going to die trying.
Hmm.
Looking back now, I wish I could have let myself know what I know now, which is you're going to be okay. You just keep doing the right thing every day. You make the right choice every time you have a choice to make, and that you're going to be okay.
Hmm. I think that, when it comes down to that, that's great advice for everybody who's watching or listening, young Venus, myself included. There's so many of us who get wrapped up in our daily lives, and it seems like it's such a big thing at the time. But I think that's great perspective for everybody to really, tune into. Is it's okay if you are doing the right things and your intentions are pure and you're really trying to help others and not hurt. It's going to work itself out.
Yes.
I really believe that. And hopefully everybody's hearing and seeing this loud and clear. I mean, I'm not saying it. Venus right here is saying it. So listen, this is a true pro. But Venus, this is awesome stuff. I want to shift into the next question when it comes down to it. And this is a crowd pleaser as well. Everybody who's watching or listening to this particular series, they want to know also what the Titans are doing to feed their minds. So I always look at it this way, and I lead into it with books you're reading or read, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media, coaches, however you're feeding your mind. What does that look like for you?
So every morning I get up at 5 and I go to the gym and I work out to 6:45. And I usually listen to something inspirational.
Okay.
My goal is to get on Tony Robbins' speaking circuit because I think that I will be a huge asset to him. So I listen to him.
Okay.
And it inspires me to be better.
Sure.
I don't have a whole lot of time to read, but I'm reading right now Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukav, Oprah Winfrey, swears by the book. So
love it.
And then I just take care of myself and try to eat well. And it's not brain science. I just drown out the negativity and focus on the positivity. And I tell my friends, don't tell me what anybody says about me or my family, because it is none of my business what other people say about me. As long as you know that I'm doing my best to be my best. Wow. And so you drown out all of that noise behind you, and it's pretty peaceful.
I love that. And what I really enjoy is that you're up early, you're listening, to different inspirational, motivational. I mean, Tony Robbins is absolutely phenomenal. Hey, Tony, if you're watching, shout out, you're listening. But he's just absolutely incredible live and just being around him. But even if it's through YouTube, through videos, or if there's audio, 100%, I think that's fantastic. But I love the fact that, even though you don't have a lot of time every once in a while to read that book, physically. Yeah. But I want to mention on the book portion, because you and I had discussed this prior, you have a book that should be coming out hopefully 2020. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with the audience?
We've been working on it for about 8 months. Okay. And I've got actually a writer that is helping me with it. Her name is Kimberly Hawk, and she's amazing. So that is going to be complete in December. And then we'll go through the process of, trying to find someone to edit it and, publish the book. And we're hoping that that book will take me to that final level, because my story is so impactful and powerful that I think I could see me as the next Blindside movie for moms who, who just feel like they're about to die, who have lost everything. And I'm here to say, it doesn't matter what's happened to you. You can get through it.
I love that. I can't. Yeah. So when that comes out, Venus, please let me know, because I'm going to boost that out to everybody in the audience in the Titan Nation. This is going to be amazing. This has been an absolute honor, just chock full of really, really great takeaways, usable information to real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and really just getting to know you, Venus. This has been an absolute pleasure. So I do want to keep everything up with a final question. And this one ends up being the quote or mantra that you might live by that sums you up as a person, as a professional. What's that look like for Venus Morris Griffin?
So I would say that I would tell people that it doesn't matter how dark the night is, that with God, hard work, and determination, you can get through anything and you can do anything.
Wow. Love it.
Yeah. And one final thing that it's pretty cool with my speaking engagements all over the country
Sure.
is I've started a scholarship fund, Venus Morris Griffin Scholarship Fund.
Love
And so right now I've, got about $40,000 in the fund, and my goal is to raise $1 million.
Love it.
And my children, I have my 6 of my 7 children choose the recipient each year, and it's a child who has at least one parent incarcerated. They're doing everything right, but because of the circumstances they're going through, that their opportunities are really limited. And so we are going to change the world, my children and I, one child at a time, by educating them and putting them through school and seeing them through really hard adversity that they're going through. So
Wow.
that's the coolest thing about these speaking events, because I take half of the proceeds and put in that account. So
that's huge, Venus. And for everybody out there, I'm going to have links in the comments down below so you can follow Venus. You can really get to know her deeper, but then also donate to the charities, get involved, that sort of thing. And if you're looking to hire an amazing speaker, she's right here. So this is going to be absolutely fantastic amongst so many things. But Venus, I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It has been an honor to have you on the show with everything and just getting to know you. You are an official real estate titan. So
thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, if you like what we're doing here with Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcast. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.